at least the reading for a little bit of this. Okay, so this is what I will need, this stuff. All right, so let's boot up an AWS instance. In order to do this, I can just click on launch instance, should be fine. And then it takes me to like these different, right, our different forms. So I'll just call this my Flask app. We'll use the default here, right, is the Linux 2023. That's fine. Remember, this is the software, right? Then from here, this is the hardware. Again, the default free is fine. The key pair login, right? This is the PEM file that allows us to ultimately SSH into it. I just want to make sure I have this sample key pair. There we go. So I have it on my computer, so this is fine. So we'll basically say, hey, use, the public key, put that on my EC2 instance, and I already have the private key on my computer. Okay, VPC we haven't talked about before. This is called a virtual private cloud. The idea of this is that, like in the old days, you would have a building, right? And there would be like the various computers in the office building is what I mean. And so you would have, like a server, everything that you accessed would only be accessible basically in that office building. Like if say you're running some sort of internal thing, like the database maybe would only be accessed inside of there. With a virtual private cloud, the idea is it's like analogous, right? So the idea is if we boot up, if we have these various services, like ultimately we're going to want, we have our EC2 machine, which will have Flask running on it. And then we'll have a database, right? The idea is that these services will not be available to like anyone who logs into AWS, but just us. And the other idea is I'm pretty sure these services can only talk to each other if they're part of the same VPC, if they're part of the same virtual private cloud. Okay? So you basically get your own, as your account, you get your own unique one. If you are part of a business, right, like, or a corporation, they would probably have all their services that need to talk to each other under the same virtual private cloud. Okay? By default, I haven't had to like mess with this configuration at all, but I think it's just something you should be aware of. Okay. So, this is my VPC, right? You all don't have access to this, right? But, and you'll get your own one. Then the security group, we know about that, right? This is the firewall. Here we're saying allow SSH access. SSH access from any like laptop, right? You still need the PEM file, but I'm not restricting which laptops can access it. The storage, 8 gigs is fine. Let's see what's under advanced details. We don't need it to worry about any of this. Let's shut this down. Minimize that. Okay, so then this is the summary. And then from there we can click launch instance. All right, and I'm gonna start, this will assign me, I can just click on this. Ultimately what we wanna look for is like the IP address or how I can connect to this. So once this thing boots up enough, we'll click on connect. In the meantime, I'm already in the SSH folder, and that has this key pair. What we'll want to do, let me refresh, see if this updated. Yeah, you will need to like just refresh the pages. So you can see now my instance state is running. I can click connect. Let's see if we can remember how to, let's not try to see. Okay, so we need the SSH-I. This flag will then specify, the key pair, the PEM file that we'll want. And then this is the user, right? We said just like you log into your Mac with a user. And then this is I think this is the public domain name. Let's take a look. So this thing here, EC244, matches this. Okay. So you get a public IP address, right? Those digits, and then you also get a public domain name. Now it just you're right. Our domain name would be like ESPN.com, but in this case, it has no idea what your business is about or anything. It just gives you a random one. Okay. So this is our domain name. We can use that as well to log in to our machine. And I'm in the same folder, right, as sample key pair. So I should just be able to do this and type yes. And now I'm logged in. Okay. So I always like to do this, just see which folder I'm in, etc. Okay, so what's next? This is where I need some help. We use this, Yum is just like a package manager, right? The same way if you have a Mac, maybe you'll use like brew install or, like pip is only for Python related stuff. But this is for like installing Python itself or installing this thing tmux or installing, right, pip. So we can just first we'll do sudo yum upgrade just to make sure. Just the same way we always also do like pip3 upgrade or pip upgrade. So this, I'm good. I don't need to upgrade yum itself. And then I'll do sudo yum install python 3 pip and then tmux. Tmux we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so each of these were installed. And now we can, I don't know if we need to, but we can, I guess, just make a new directory. And this is where our Flask app will live, okay, is inside the app folder. Okay, now let's exit out of this. And yeah, so in the reading, you can, I give you all like a sample application. So you can see that, right, it has the requirements.txt file, has the run.py file, and then this source file that just has like a welcome to the app in here. So the next step that we're going to need to do is to get this folder, right? Get this folder onto our machine in the cloud. So the way we can do that is to secure copy. Remember, there was a reading on this, right? That we can basically copy our files from app over to, let's get this, our IP address. We're going to want it, we also have to specify the EC2 user, right? That we want to, like in like a same analogy, right? For this user. And then into which folder, right? So this is into which folder on the computer. I think we need : I'm gonna have to look at this. Yeah, : home / EC2 user. So it's : home / EC2 user. And then we could do like /app or whatever. What is this? This is saying this user at this IP address in this folder, right? I'm specifying the root path. Okay. So I'm secure copying from my app folder onto this user, this domain name into this folder. This is going to break because it's saying, oh, yep, here it goes. Permission denied, right? Why? Because we don't have permission. Why don't we have permission? Because we didn't specify our PEM file. So we should do -i, and then we can do the like absolute path. -i /.ssh/sample key pair PEM. I think this will work. Oh, app is not a regular file. I may have to do -r. Right, because it wants to be like recursive, like copy. Same thing we do CP. Okay, now look how nice this looks. 100%. Right, so this is copying over the files to our machine in this folder, I hope. Let's take a look. Oh, did I not do it right? Oh no, I think I did. So now what should we do? Probably just SSH. So we can do that from here. SSH-I into this machine. I broke it. Could not, oh, because I still have this app thing. That's silly. Right? And we just want to make sure, like, do we actually have those files on there? Here's my app folder. And if we look inside the app folder, here's, you know, our application. So what's next? Now, next, what we want to do is basically boot up our app. Okay? Yeah, so what would we do? So this is like the same steps that if you just clone down an app on your computer. What you would do is like pip3 install requirements pip3 install -r requirements.txt, right? Install the related libraries like Flask or whatever. We want to install them. So you can do that here, but you're going to have an issue. I'll show you. So do pip3 install, and then the next thing we can do is do python 3 run.py. You see this? You see this permission denied? What we have to do, I guess it doesn't allow us by default. This machine doesn't allow us to like run a website. That's what I'm guessing. I have to look this up more. But what you can do to fix this is do sudo almost. Now, we got further, right? We got a different error message, but now it's saying no module named Flask. So the issue is that when we installed our libraries, right, our pip libraries, we did not do sudo. So for us to see like the Flask library, when we're running sudo here, we also have to do sudo over here. Sudo stands for super user, like do, so as the super user, as someone who has permissions, install these libraries. Okay, and then as someone who has permissions, boot up the Flask application. So now this is booting up. Okay. What else? Okay, so yeah, let me see what's in the chat. Well, you can do a lot of things without sudo. Like we were able to. So the question is there anything we can do without sudo? Right, we could still like make directories and things like that. It seems like we were not able to like boot up Flask use with these current permissions. Right, so you just
kind of do like trial and error to figure it out.
I do. Like I'm sure if someone like a more expert person in DevOps probably would go through a better technique. But for me, like it's telling me I don't have permissions to do this operation that I normally have permissions to do. So I'm guessing that like AWS just isn't allowing me to boot up a server unless I'm saying, specifically I want to. Yeah.
Is there a reason not to just use sudo?
Well, yeah, because those restrictions might be there for a good reason, And then, also like I don't know. I'd be concerned about like installing things like more globally. You can give access to normal user. That's true. So like we could create a user and probably give access to that user to then perform some operation. Sudo is only for the duration of this command, by the way, too. So it's like you saw that I had to run it when I did pip3, right, install -r, and then I had to prepend it again when I did the run.py.
I was mostly wondering because didn't we set up this user to have admin access? So wouldn't they kind of already have like all the access, or obviously I'm getting something wrong?
Yeah, I don't know that we did though. But even if like we're not logged in, we're logged in as the EC2 user,
Okay.
right? Like that's our user right now. And now we're saying like, well, as the super user. And we could have maybe specified. Sometimes you'll see like you have to type in your password or whatever to get access to after you type in sudo. Okay, so Abhinav says, that's why it lets you do sudo. If you didn't give the user admin access, you couldn't do sudo in the first place. Oh, there you go. That's interesting. right? So if we did not give this user admin access, then we wouldn't even have the option of using super user. Okay. Cool.
So we haven't defined any HTTP rule.
That is
So
correct.
how?
This is still not going to work. We're still not done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a great point. So if we try to access this, this is probably like the next step we should cover. So we could go here and then say try to open our address, or either one of these. They'll both break. So they're breaking for like two different reasons. One, notice that like we don't even see a request come through. Okay. So one reason that this is breaking is, well, one, this is HTTPS, and generally you need a certificate to launch your site on HTTPS. So we would only have access to HTTP for now anyway, but this still breaks. Okay, and notice again, we don't even get a request coming through here. So how can we fix this, or what's going wrong? What's going wrong is if here we're at the instance. If you look at security, and then you look at security groups, see if you can see this. You see this is inbound. Oh, that's outbound rules actually. Here's inbound rules. So inbound rule is saying it's port 22. What do we do on port 22? That's SSH access. All right, we're saying we can access the computer via SSH from anywhere, but we're not saying we can access via HTTP from anywhere. So what we can do is click on this security group, this specific security group, right? This is our firewall, and then click on Edit Inbound Rules. Okay. And now we want to add a rule, right? So far we're only allowing for SSH access, but not allowing like computers to access our EC2 machine from HTTP. So we'll click Add a Rule, and then we'll do HTTP. By default, it does port 80, which is good because that's what we're running on, right? It's port 80. And then we want to say basically any computer can access it. So that's the 000/0 thing. And then we'll do save rules. And now it says it's modified. Let's see. And that worked. Okay. So now we have this welcome to the app. And again, notice I have to be on HTTP to do this. And I'll plug in my computer. But so we'll need, right, you need to be on HTTP, and we need it to, meaning you have to edit the URL, right? So just type http://. And the other thing is we had to edit our inbound rules and add HTTP access to allow our computer, our EC2 machine, to be accessed that way. You can see here, right, we finally see a GET request. Okay. Questions about this so far, other than the sudo stuff, which I'm being vague on? All right, this is like the biggest gotcha, at least for me and previous students. Okay, it's like I always forget to edit the inbound rule and spend a minute wondering why I can't access my website. Okay, so now we have this. The other thing we should do is, it's like, how do we exit out of our AWS machine but still have this thing running? There's a couple ways I guess we could do this, but the way that I like is we can use tmux and do tmux create. I think it's tmux create. We'll just say like Flask app session, or let's call it Flask session. Oh man, tmux. Hold on, I have to Google it. tmux new, I guess. Let me see if that works. Start a new session. tmux new -s. So we'll have to start. Well, this basically like allows you to like log in to like a terminal session. So we'll see what I mean. So right now we don't have Flask running, right? So do tmux new -s. I'll just call this like my Flask session. And now you see this. I'm like, this is a set, like I'm logged in to my terminal session. And now from here, I can do Python 3, the same command, sudo Python 3, run.py. But what's nice about this is I can log out and still have this running. Okay? So the way you log out is you press Control B at the same time, and then you press the letter D. So Control B, D. All right? So it says I'm detached from the Flask session, but if you do tmux ls, it's still there. And I can just type tmux attach, and that will take me into the session where you can see it's still running. All right? So I'll just do Control B, D, and make sure I can still, right, Flask is still running, so I'm good. And then I can exit even out of this, and that session's still running, and Flask is still running, and I'm still good. Okay? So those are all the steps. Right? What do we have to do? We had to boot up a new EC2 instance. We had to copy over, do the secure copy over to have our files and move our local files over to AWS. All right? Then we had to do basically cd into app, do the sudo pip3 install -r requirements.txt, right? Then from there, we had to create a new tmux session, which was like tmux new -s and the name of the session. And this is all in the reading, okay? And then we could, then we're attached to the session. We did the sudo python 3 run.py, right? And then we can detach from the session by pressing Control B at the same time and then pressing the letter D. All right? And then we can exit out of here. So those are the steps to deploying